Welcome, guys, to Right on Rangers Live. And that Corey Seager home run to start the World Series. Game one, that never gets old. Never gets old. So we're going to go ahead and get rolling here. We're just giving everybody a little bit of time to get back in to the live before we start breaking down the game. Rangers lose a tough one tonight. Final score, Tampa Bay 5, Texas 2. We'll go box score review. We'll break it down inning by inning for the most part as we go along. And we'll have a few other things at the end, do some bonus content. We'll get everything rolling here in just a few minutes. My people on TikTok, we're not quite going to have as robust of a setup as on some of the other apps. I'm using Restream to broadcast live kind of at the same time for everybody. And for whatever reason, Restream's giving me a tough time with TikTok. So I got y'all on my phone. Everybody else is on the PC. So we'll see how it goes. Bear with me. But we'll try and get everybody started here in just a second. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and begin. So as we mentioned, Rays 5, Rangers 2, real tight game throughout if you were watching. Definitely a game that I thought the Rangers could have won. I think that really what happened tonight is the bats just went cold. It happens. Rangers couldn't get the big hits when they needed them. Top of the order, had some struggles. Seager, Simeon, pretty quiet nights. When those guys aren't hitting, it's going to be tough for the rest of the order to follow in line. There were some big moments. Ninth inning was really interesting. I thought that they were possibly going to pull it out. Leody Taveras came up with a huge opportunity, but for whatever reason wasn't able to get the job done. Sent a pretty good fly ball out to the outfield, but Rosarina was able to track it down. And so we are at 5-2. And just a few notes here. We'll do box score review in just a little bit. So box score review, we just go through literally straight up and down the Rangers box score for the night. Doesn't tell the whole story, so that's why we fill in with a little bit of commentary here and there, but we'll get to box score review in just a bit. First off, let's start with Wyatt Langford. Wyatt Langford had a decent night at the plate. It doesn't show up really that well in the box score. 1 for 4 tonight, hitting .286 on the year. Probably should have had a double tonight. Hit a 104-mile-an-hour laser in the gap that Rosario was able to track down. I might be able to get you the replay on that here in a little bit. But Wyatt Langford also had a base hit, single through the infield, 95 miles an hour. I was especially impressed with this one. 0-2 count, worked it back to 2-2. And then after that, hit a 95-mile-an-hour single through the infield on a curveball that was about half a foot outside. So Wyatt Langford continuing to have good at-bats. Love to see that. Didn't expect Josh Smith to get the start tonight. From what I hear, that was kind of always the plan. But he had a nice double down the line in his first at-bat, and that was in the third inning. And the Rangers commentators were just talking about Josh and how in the spring he just showed really good vision, really good patience at the plate. So they were pretty high on him and what he was doing in the spring. And I think he may be able to continue that. Obviously, this is a big opportunity for him. So we've got probably 4 to 6 weeks, right, of Josh Smith, maybe Ezekiel Duran playing third base in Josh Jung's absence. Josh Jung obviously fracturing his wrist on a hit by pitch in last night's game. Big loss for the Rangers, but fortunately he's not going to be out too long. So that's a positive, but guys are going to have to step up. They called up Justin Foscue. They were talking about how he only got about 2 hours of sleep making his way from minor leagues, from AAA to Tampa today. So really probably wasn't going to be a good situation for him to play. Although I'm definitely interested to see how they work him in. I'm sure he'll do some platooning at first base with Walsh while Nate Lowe is out. It was good to see Nate Lowe, by the way, on the broadcast today on Bally Sports. They had Nate Lowe for about a couple of innings doing an interview. Really enjoyed that. And sounds like Nate's not quite swinging a bat yet. So he's probably still a few weeks off. And when you consider that he hasn't even had really a spring training, I think that's probably going to be May before we see Nate Lowe. But who knows? With those types of injuries, I think his is an oblique. He kind of joked on the broadcast that, finally he doesn't have pain when he sneezes. So, I mean, that's a good sign, but clearly he probably hasn't been able to do much baseball related. So we'll have to see how he progresses. But I'll be curious to see how Bochy and the rest of the staff decides to mix and match things moving forward without Josh Jung and, of course, without Nate Lowe, who's still injured. Let's talk about Andrew Heaney. I was really bummed out for him. I thought he pitched really well. I was seeing some comments online, and I do kind of agree. He seems to be kind of like Dunning, one of those guys who's very solid through 5 or 6, but you really don't know what you're getting after that. So I would say I definitely thought he was deserving of a win. Really tough luck. That first run scored. I think that probably if he stays out of the way, the ball doesn't deflect off his glove, and I think Simeon was pretty much right there to gobble it up. So I really wish that he would have just stayed out of the way of that one, avoided the ball altogether, and I really think that he would have had an opportunity to get out of that inning without giving up a run at all. But it wasn't meant to be, and I'll tell you what, that's how baseball goes sometimes, right? I mean, guys don't get out of the way, and you've got deflections. Rangers had a couple of those on defense, and it starts getting messy. And baseball gods, usually those errors or those, tough deflections with 2 outs, it just really never seems to go very well. So tough break for the Rangers, but it is what it is. And I really think that, they were right in this game the whole way. Now, going into Heaney's breakdown here, we've got 7 strikeouts, 5 innings pitched, almost 4 2/3 technically. But we also had 7 strikeouts. So we had Andrew Heaney, 6 out of the 7 were swinging strikeouts. And then we had one other that was a called strike 3. Got a lot of guys out on the slider tonight. Fastball looked good. I really thought, again, Andrew Heaney deserved to get a win tonight. Disappointed that the offense didn't back him up a little bit better. And then the defense running into some trouble as well. Jared Walsh just does not like playing defense in the drop, I don't think. I mean, it seems like a really tough place to track down fly balls. I mean, obviously, these are big leaguers. It's not impossible, but I think he's just having a tough time seeing the ball. I do think on that one that Jared Walsh dropped tonight, Garcia probably could have had that one. I think that it's debatable, but I think Garcia probably should have had that fly ball that was, I think, right kind of in between all 3, Simeon, Walsh, and Garcia. But Garcia coming in, easiest play. Didn't even see his mouth moving, communicating potentially. I got it. Gold Glover out there, so I don't want to nitpick him too much, but it did seem like that's probably a ball that he would have had the best chance at. That being said, hits Walsh's glove. If it hits your glove, you should probably catch it. So I think that is another one of those tough plays that if it's made, the game probably turns out a little bit differently. But who knows? All right, again, that's just the way baseball goes sometimes. Now, want to talk about this, which I've felt pretty strongly about for a couple of years now, really since they implemented the challenge system. The stealing attempts, the stealing replays at second base, right? I really feel a lot of those stealing attempts that end up getting reviewed. What happens is the runner slightly comes off the base at some point, The second baseman of the shortstop holds the tag the entire time. And yeah, the guy's leg comes off the bag. The runner's leg comes off the bag for a fraction of a second, and he's out, even though he may have beat the throw by 1 or 2 seconds. I really would like to see them do something with that. There's probably not an easy solution, but I really dislike the challenges at second base on steals where you're calling guys out who've clearly beaten the throw, and maybe for a millisecond while the hand is going past the base and the leg is following. There's a slight moment, right? Slight moment where the ball, where the tag is on and the player's off the bag. So I'd like to see them do away with that challenge. I don't like it. I really wish that they could get something in there, a rule that would somehow just do away with that. I know the Rangers obviously were trying to get a call there, and it was pretty questionable. I think they had an argument that I think it was Siri was off the base, even though he clearly beat Jonah Heim's throw. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of that. Your leg came off a fraction of an inch for 1 second or a millisecond, but the tag was on, so you're out. I don't know. I don't think that is really what it was intended for. So just my 2 cents. Don't know if there's an easy solution, but never been a fan of that challenge. Speaking of, I really can't believe that in a 9 inning baseball game, and I know they're trying to speed up the game. That's been a huge, huge point of emphasis, speeding up the game. How do you only get one challenge in a 9 inning baseball game? I mean, the Rangers lost the first challenge on that steal play that we were just talking about. And then you don't have a challenge the rest of the game. It just seems ridiculous to me. You got 9 total innings and you get one challenge. I just think that you should at least have two. And kind of like football, correct me if I'm wrong, but like in football, you get two. And if you get both of them right, you get a third. I don't know why they couldn't do that in baseball. It seems actually pretty practical. And I would even be a fan of it's a close play. Let's review it really quick. Kind of like they do in college football. If you're a college football fan, they just buzz down and review whatever's close. Really wouldn't bother me if they did that in baseball. The game pretty much flies along at this point. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like these baseball games now are just flying along. I mean, they're 2.5 hours, maybe 3, but it's kind of rare that games go 3 hours anymore. It's mainly 2.5, 240. I would not care at all if they wanted to review some close plays. Some of these plays you can get taken care of in less than 30 seconds, like that Wyatt Langford play. I think it was later on in the game, right? Maybe 7th inning, something like that, where Langford was clearly safe, right? Clearly beat out the ground ball. That takes less than probably 20 seconds to review. Yep, safe, and off we go. For sure, some challenges take longer, no doubt. And I know that's the concern. They don't want to give coaches too many challenges because they don't want to slow down the game. But I really feel like you got to give coaches at least 2 challenges. Give them a third if they get both challenges right, just like they do with football. Just my 2 cents on the challenges. Really would like to see them do something different there. And again, wouldn't be at all opposed to the umps, to New York being able to buzz in on a really close play and make a difference there. Now, let's keep going and let's talk a little bit about the box score. Let's get right into it, kind of go up and down. Semien and Seager 0 for tonight. Semien drew a walk, but Seager 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts. Semien 0 for 3 with a walk. Just wasn't his night. So obviously when those guys aren't going, it's going to be tough to win games. They do have enough firepower to get it done, and there were some moments where the Rangers could have come through. 9th inning was one example. You also had, I think it was in the 7th or 8th inning, you had Duran and Leote back-to-back with 2 runners on, out, and the inning's over. So I think that they had their moments in this game. Despite Semien and Seager not playing well, you need some of those guys to step up at times when your 2 best hitters are having an off game, and it didn't happen tonight. Leote made a nice play out in center field with the catch and then the throw him out, the double play at the end. I think it was in the 8th inning, but not a good night for him at the plate. He went 0 for 4 tonight, batting 154 on the season. I really think that Leote probably has the month of April. I think they're going to give him April. I don't think that they're going to be yanking him out of the starting lineup tomorrow. I think he had a really rough spring, and I think he's on notice. I mean, he's got to know. You're looking around, and you see guys like Langford, you see Carter, you see Garcia, and you see the depth that they have. And I know Leote understands that he has some competition for his spot. But I do think they're going to give him a chance this first month of April to really see if he can iron things out. And you don't need 300 with 20 plus homers from Leote. You really don't. You just need him to be dependable. 260, 270. When you're hitting below 200 or 220, that's just not going to work, especially with the guys that the Rangers have that could potentially replace him. So I hope Leote gets going. We talked about this on the live a couple nights ago. I don't think any fan cheers for guys to not do well. I hope Leote does well, but the reality is there's guys that are on the bench that can make plays. I said yesterday after the game, I would love to see Jankowski start getting a consistent playing time going with Leote in center field. I would love to see that. I think we talked about too. Leote hits left-handed starters much better than right-handed starters. So for me, I'd like to see when you have a right-handed starter going, opposing you, Jankowski, and when you've got a left-handed starter, Leote obviously switch hitter, bats righty. I think we looked at the stats, 2023 last year, Leote hit over 300 against left-handed starters. He hit 240 with right-handed starters. I don't think that is insignificant data. So I'd like to see Jankowski get some more playing time. But like I said, they're going to give Leote time to work this out. He's really pretty solid in center field. I mean, I think he had a rough start to the year. Maybe the second game, he kind of had a couple of plays where he just wasn't looking himself. But I think Leote looks pretty good out there. And he showed that tonight out in the outfield running around. But the bat has got to get going for him to maintain a solid position in this lineup. Let's go back to the box score here. Evan Carter. I predicted he was going to get his first hit of the season. I didn't think that was a hot take. But Evan Carter, 0 for 4 tonight, batting 0 on the year. Obviously, he's been on base quite a bit. We talked last night how I think he's among the tops or maybe still leading the league, the American League, that is, in walks, but no hits. A little concerning, I would say. 5 games in, it's still early. It's so easy to overreact at this point, and especially when your team loses, it's easy to throw things out there. Baseball is a long season, 162 games. We played 5, right? So they're going to continue with Evan Carter. Just feel bad for the guy. If he could get going, the Rangers would really, really be better off, especially with Josh Jung going out. Carter does need to step up. We need his bat to get going. So hopefully that first hit will be coming in the day game tomorrow. Rubber game. Hopefully the Rangers can get their second series win in a row. Looks like we have Evo going tomorrow. So chances are pretty solid, I would say, whenever you got Evo throwing, that you're going to get a win. Now, going back to today's game, Garcia, 1 for 4, scored a run, 2 strikeouts. Missed a homer, I think, early on in the 4th inning. He had a pretty good, solid hit to center field. Just came a little bit short. But finally, Garcia, I know he didn't hit a homer in one of the games out of the 4, but had hit a homer in 3 out of the 4 games so far. He goes homerless tonight. So again, you've got 1 through 4 going a collective 1 for 15. If you include Langford, 1 for 4 as well, you've got 2 for 19. 2 for 19 from your 1 through 5 isn't going to get things done. It's just not. It was good to see Jonah Heim get a couple of base knocks today, especially in that ninth inning. Fairbanks is not an easy guy to hit off of. Fairbanks, obviously the Rays closer, not an easy guy to get base hits off of. He was a little bit wild coming in, but I thought Heim did a nice job continuing the inning. And hopefully that's a sign of good things to come. I've said with Heim, kind of like Leote, we don't need him to be a 300 hitter or be an all-star even though he probably will be in the running for one again. And when I say be an all-star, I'm talking about his bat. He's naturally going to be an amazing catcher behind the plate. But with his bat, no, I don't think the Rangers really needed him to be anything above and beyond this year. They've got that kind of firepower. But now that Josh Jung goes down, everybody's kind of got to step up. I was just glad to see him get a couple of hits tonight. And Jared Walsh, I mean, yes, the defensive gaffes, the pop flies, they're annoying and just really ill-timed tonight as well. But I'll tell you what, I think he's going to be a very, very solid fixture in the Rangers lineup until Nate Lowe gets back. And I think even beyond. I think even when Nate Lowe returns healthy, if Walsh is hitting like this, I mean, he's batting 389 right now, 1,000 OPS. I think that he's going to rival Nate Lowe for some playing time, especially if Nate Lowe is out for an extended period of time. I know a lot of Rangers fans last year were frustrated that Nate Lowe really didn't have any competition. There was nobody behind him. And Nate Lowe is one of the most likable guys on the Rangers team, by the way. I mean, I love Nate Lowe. I think everybody wanted him to just catch fire in the postseason last year, and it never really happened. You're always going to get Gold Glove defense from Nate Lowe. He's a great defender at first base, but he really struggled in the second half. And I think that it was, not not unintentional that they went out and got Walsh, who can play first this year. So we'll see how that develops. But the more Walsh hits and the longer Nate Lowe is out, the more likely it is that Walsh is still going to be seeing some playing time when Nate Lowe gets back. Let's see. I got a couple other things I want to go through here on the box score. First of all, Rodriguez coming in after Heaney. Not my favorite pick there, if I'm being honest. Not my most favorite pick. Heaney was dealing and then had some tough luck. Rodriguez comes in, gives up the home run that kind of really put the game in a tough spot for the Rangers. I really would have liked to see a guy like Spores there. I would have loved to see even a guy like Yates or Leclerc, anybody. And I know Leclerc is the closer, but with this bullpen, I'd really like to see more mixing and matching. I don't think they need to define roles for these guys. You've got the seventh, you've got the eighth. I think at this point, just put guys in the right matchups in order to win. I don't think you need to nail down an inning for any of these guys. So just personally, I would have liked to see somebody else in the sixth, or I guess it was the fifth inning technically, instead of Rodriguez. You remember against the Cubs on Easter on Sunday, he actually loaded the bases, was able to get out of it, but I didn't feel very confident walking away from that outing. And in a tense situation, I would have preferred one of those veteran guys to come in, a Spores, a Yates, somebody to close that door, get out of the inning, and then maybe you bring in Rodriguez for a clean inning in the sixth if you want to. I mean, I probably would have let one of those guys just go ahead and pitch the sixth anyways, but I don't think Rodriguez is the guy to bring in with runners on. They know something maybe I don't or we don't, but I don't know. I think if given the options, unless there was something going on with one of those guys, I'd rather see one of the vets come in with runners on first and third, I think it was, in a spot where you're trying to keep the game close. You got an off day coming up on Thursday before the Astros series. So it's not like this is like a long stretch of games where you've really got to conserve the arms and you got to make sure that nobody's overextending themselves. You had an off day last Friday after the home opener. You've got another off day coming up this Thursday after tomorrow's game. So why not make some guys throw and have that off day in your back pocket? That's just my opinion. Now, continuing on, Latz, I want to talk about him. Latz, by the way, if you don't know his backstory, fifth round pick out of I think the 2017 draft, if I'm not mistaken. Lefty. He had a couple of good innings tonight. Got in a little bit of trouble in the eighth inning, but 0 ERA on the season, and he's pitched about 7 or 8 innings. No runs given up, and has a WHIP below 1, so allowing less than a base runner per inning. So I liked what I saw from Latz. I hope that Latz continues to do well. We need left-handed relievers that can come in and make a big difference. I really think that that's something that the Rangers have lacked. We had Will Smith last year, who's with the Royals now, of course. Will Smith was not very good down the stretch. He had some moments in the postseason. Obviously, we're grateful for those moments where Will Smith pitched well, pitched like the veteran he is. But throughout the course of the season, Will Smith was unplayable in some situations. And I like Burke, I do, but I'd like to see Latz step into a bigger role. If you can have those guys that you can count on, big game moments that can come in and get lefties out, that's huge. We had it a little bit with Chapman last year, but Chapman was inconsistent. Right? But big lefty arm that has good off speed and has some velocity, that's invaluable. So Latz coming along, if he can continue to pitch like this, that's a big weapon out of the bullpen for the Rangers. A couple other things. First of all, back to Evan Carter. Interesting note, he had a 23-game on-base streak going back to last year and including the postseason. A 23-game on-base streak that was snapped tonight. Still hitless. Really hope he can end up coming back tomorrow. Hopefully, maybe he'll get a day off at some point. Wouldn't surprise me if maybe they decide to give him one. But Evan Carter, no hits. Hopefully he gets going soon. Let me see if I got anything else, guys, and then we'll start wrapping things up. Again, tomorrow, Evo pitching. Looking forward to that. Him getting back out on the mound after a very solid home opener. And then Rangers have the day off Thursday, and then we have the big series with the Astros on Friday. Looking forward to that series. I think Rangers are going to be on Sunday Night Baseball, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw that. I was watching the Dodgers-Cardinals game the other night on Easter, and I think they previewed Astros-Rangers this coming Sunday, ESPN, so that'll be fun. And I'm kind of wondering, is that the biggest rivalry in baseball right now? Astros-Rangers. I'm really trying to think. I mean, Yankees-Red Sox obviously is a classic, but both of those teams, I don't know, not really the top teams in the league, although Yankees are off to a very solid start. I think they're going to be better this year. That matchup is always going to be classic, always going to be tough to beat. But in terms of two elite teams this year, Rangers, Astros, I don't know if there's a bigger rivalry. I think that some people outside of Texas are starting to appreciate it more and more. I think for the last several years, really ever since the Astros got to the AL West and started being competitive, right? I mean, in the early 2010s, the Astros were terrible. But that's what allowed them to get those draft picks, to get those really solid players like Springer and Correa. Obviously, Altuve was a part of all that as well. So Rangers and Astros has always been a thing for people in Texas, but I don't think that the outside world, so to speak, really has realized the weight of that series, but I think it was on full display in the ALCS. So I was really happy to see that the Rangers and the Astros are getting some good getting some good airtime on ESPN and on some major outlets. So a couple of things. By the way, my people on Instagram, I'm just catching up real quick. Yeah, baseball replays and challenges. I don't know, man. They can honestly get those done really quickly. That's just my opinion. There is a rule, though. Yes, you cannot block the base on runner stealing at second. This was a comment on Instagram that I'm responding to right now. So they do have some weird rules at second base. I'm not a fan of you came off the bag for a millisecond and instant replay and super slow-mo shows that you're out. Not a fan of that, but I like the challenges in baseball. I can't say that I dislike them at all. So I would like to see some tweaking. I also said, for those of you joining a little bit late, I'd like to see them give more challenges. There's only one right now, and you get another one if you're right. But I'd like to see it kind of be like NFL. In the NFL, you get 2 challenges. If you get both of them right, you get a third. I'd like to see that for baseball. That would be ideal. There's no reason in a 9-inning baseball game that you only have one challenge. Just my 2 cents. Now, continuing, we're going to go to a couple other comments here as well. Here's one. So how is Simeon playing so far this year? I think Simeon is getting on base. I think he is walking, but I wouldn't say that he has had an overly impressive start to the year, if I'm being honest. Now, I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to get going. But if you look at where he's at this season, batting 211. So not an impressive start for him. I think if you asked him, he would say he needs to be playing better. 211 on the season for your leadoff hitter, not really going to work that great. Now, OBP for Simeon is 375. Now you're talking, right? If you can get that on base percentage up to around 400, I can work with that at the leadoff spot. But Simeon needs to come around. They need to have Simeon's bat going to get this thing started. I think both Simeon and Seager are still waiting on that first home run of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Simeon no homers, Seager no homers. So they'll catch fire. I'm not too worried about them at this point. I think that they're consistent enough. They've proven they can be consistent, and I really think that they're going to end up catching fire at some point, if not in April, in May. It's a long season. But no doubt, when we lose games and Simeon and Seager are going over, I think we said and did the math, when the top 5 hitters in the Rangers lineup go 2 for 19, that's not a recipe for success at all. All right, guys. I'll try and go through any other questions or comments. Let me check on TikTok here. I see a lot of y'all. I don't mean to forget about y'all. I'm kind of going all over the place. Like I said, first time live on TikTok. I've got y'all going on my phone while I'm on the computer over here with everybody else. So we'll try and be a little more smooth for everybody moving forward. We're working out things. We're trying to get things a little bit better, little bit at a time, day by day. But I use Restream to go live with like YouTube, Facebook, and to go live also with Instagram and X as well. But TikTok, I don't know, there's some weird compatibility issue. So I'm just going to use my phone for a while, and hopefully it'll get better and better as time goes on. So that's the plan. I'll check comments, though, make sure that I don't miss anybody. But I appreciate y'all tuning in. And we'll be out with a video tomorrow, probably in the morning, I would say. I know the game starts at like 12 o'clock Texas time, 10 a.m.-ish my time. So probably have a video out earlier in the morning. And don't know if we'll be able to go live tomorrow because of the early game. We'll see. Maybe later on in the evening. But I'm going to do my best, as I've told y'all pretty much every time we've gotten on, to make sure that after most games we go live, give the reaction, give a space to have everybody hash it out, leave comments, talk about all things Rangers baseball. That's the point of this. Looking at a couple other comments here. I'm assuming we're talking about the Langford call at first base. Obviously, the runner's safe. And that's one of those calls, by the way. We're talking about the Wyatt Langford ground ball that he actually did beat out, but the Rangers were unable to challenge because Bochy had used up the challenge on a questionable call down at second base on an attempted steal. The Rays were safe on the field, and then it was confirmed at replay safe as well. Rangers lost their challenge. Then later in the game, on that Wyatt Langford ground ball, Langford's obviously safe, but the Rangers can't challenge it. because they lost the challenge at the beginning of the game. And that's one of those calls that I've said, how quickly would New York have been able to overturn that Wyatt Langford ground ball? 20 seconds, 15 seconds. I mean, that's a very quick overturn. And I don't know why they can't expand things out a little bit more. So I'm not going to be shocked if down the road that does end up happening. When you have technology and you've got all these different camera angles and umps are missing, what I would say pretty easy calls. That Langford call, I mean, that was pretty much almost a full step that he was safe. That is what I would consider for a major league umpire a pretty bad call. So I think that as you see egregious calls like that, you're going to see more pushes for more replays and more challenges. But to be determined. So, guys, I'm going to wrap things up. Thanks for hanging out. Tomorrow, we'll be out with the video early on with the pick, with the final score prediction. And we'll also give y'all the update on our system. We dropped to 3-2 on the year, betting 1 cent for every Facebook follower that we have. I'm not trying to be betting triple figures on games. Otherwise, it would be fun to do all followers from all social media combined, but I am not trying to bet triple digits on games quite yet, guys. I am not that rich. But hey, if Right On Rangers ends up hitting it big, absolutely, we'll have some fun with it. But for now, I've got about 2,000 followers on Facebook, so we're doing about $20 a game. But hey, all y'all on different apps beyond Facebook, hop on over, give the follow, and let's make it interesting. All right. But I think we're up maybe about 12, 13 bucks on the year after 5 games. So, hey, we'll take a profit. I don't care if it's $12. We'll take a profit. We could be down a lot more, but we'll take 3-2 with the $12 profit. So tomorrow, that video will tell you all the final score prediction for the game tomorrow, and we'll give you an update on the system. Jankowski DHing. I think they're going to have Wyatt Langford DH quite a bit. Think that they'll probably have him do that most of the time, maybe play a little bit outfield. Jankowski's a good outfielder. So, in my opinion, they need to have Jankowski getting consistent at bats, probably platooning with Leody Taveras. We'll see what Bochy decides to do. All right, guys. As we always say, God bless. Go Rangers. We'll see y'all soon. Bye.